Well, we still don't know precisely what happened in either incident. As you correctly said in your introduction, the Ukrainian authorities are not claiming responsibility, although they're sort of hinting at it by saying that demilitarisation is underway in Crimea. In other words, the Russian military in Crimea is being degraded. In the first incident, it took place at a place called Mayske in the north of Crimea. It was an ammunition depot which exploded, apparently, damaged an electricity substation on the nearby railway line. Villagers have been reporting about a series of explosions and a lot of smoke. How much damage has been done, we don't really know. The other incident occurred several hours later, more in central Crimea, quite near to the capital of Crimea, Simferopol, a place called Gwardiske, and that targeted a naval air force base where apparently there may have been as many as 12 military aircraft. We have no information at this stage as to whether any of them were hit, but what this does signify is that nowhere is safe for the Russian military in Crimea. Crimea, so important for the Russians too, for the supply of their forces in the south of Ukraine, but also on the Donbass as well. So, this is really, really important, both for the Ukrainians and for the Russians. It puts the Russians in a very uneasy situation. They know that nowhere is safe for them, that even though before they felt secure in Crimea, that is no longer the case.
Rob, meanwhile, there is growing international concern about what's happening at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. That's the largest one in Europe. We know there's been shelling there in recent days. It's an issue that Presidents Macron and Zelensky have spoken about today. Now, both Russia and Ukraine are blaming each other for the attacks near the plant. Do we know who's attacking the site?
It's very hard to say without having a presence on the ground to say with absolute certainty. The Ukrainians are accusing the Russians of using the base to position artillery so that they can target Ukrainian positions the other side of the Dnipro River, making it impossible, in other words, for the Ukrainians to fire back because they know that if they do so, there's a risk that they may hit the nuclear power station. The Russians, for their part, say it's the Ukrainians who are hitting it, trying to put the blame on the Russians. Very difficult to say where the truth lies in this, but there is one thing that is clear. The Ukrainians are demanding, calling on the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to go to the nuclear power station and carry out an inspection for themselves. They're insisting on that. The Russians are prevaricating. They're coming up with excuse after excuse for why that shouldn't happen. So on the surface, at least, the position of the Ukrainians looks a bit stronger.
Well, speaking of the Ukrainian army, Rob, it's been reported that fighting alongside the Ukrainian army are thousands of foreign soldiers, Americans, Brits among them, but Georgians as well. Now, you've actually met some of those fighters recently. What did they tell you about why it was they chose to come to Ukraine and join the fighting?
Yes, well, we spent the morning today with the Georgian National Legion, not very far from here. They said to me that there are close on 1,000 Georgians fighting for the National Legion in Ukraine at the moment. Most of them are at the front line, but there were half a dozen or so at the base where I was today, where they're together with Americans. There were a couple of Americans with them at the time, where they're training Ukrainians to prepare them to go to the front line to fight. I was told by them that they've probably trained somewhere in the region of 7,000 Ukrainian soldiers in the months since the start of the war here. The Georgians themselves, it has to be said, have quite a lot of experience of fighting against Russians from the 2008 war, but also from conflicts in Zaporizhzhia and South Ossetia. They also have experience of fighting alongside NATO in Iraq and Afghanistan, and are highly motivated because they see Ukraine's war against Russia as being their own war against Russia. that if Russia gets defeated in Ukraine, that means they're defeated elsewhere as well. So they're highly motivated. The Ukrainians seem very happy to have them. And alongside, in addition to the military training, they're doing other stuff as well. They're training ordinary Ukrainian citizens in battlefield first aid techniques, because many Ukrainians, for instance, get hit in their homes, suffer severe casualties from shrapnel and that sort of thing. So they're teaching them how to deal with that.
Rob Parsons, our Chief